10's Across the Board gave us a glimpse into the real ballroom scene, and our amazing guest, Lola, gave us some beautiful insight on her transition. And, we're not part of ballroom culture, and I think it's safe to say that we don't have a ton of close relationships with people of trans experience. So I think the first question that I wanted to ask is turning the magnifying glass over to the queer community. I think there's a great deal of transphobia among queer people. And I want to know from you guys' perspective and outlook, what do you think contributes to transphobia within the queer community? Why do you think it exists?
I think partly because queer, like people of queer sexuality, and then living outside of the gender binary, we're lumped into the LGBTQ umbrella. And I think that
Mm,
people often have a really big lack of understanding. Like me being queer, I don't understand, or like I wouldn't know have firsthand experience of what a person that is transitioning between genders, what that experience looks like, what it feels like, what the
hmm
struggles of it are. And I think with so many things that we can see with racial disparities, with cisgender men and women, when people don't understand something, I think they often mistreat and come from that place of privilege and look down on it. And I think that happens a lot within our own communities. People just not wanting to understand, being uninformed, and then acting out that fear or lack of understanding or knowledge in ways that are harmful to a community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that touches on like a interesting part that Lola sort of talked about in the interview of saying that she doesn't think that there's a lot of education and awareness on what the transition experience is. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think
Mm-hmm.
that at this point we're all familiar with trans is and we see it, but
Mm-hmm.
we don't necessarily know what that experience is. And I think that lack of awareness for the experience leads to a lack of compassion and
Mm-hmm.
understanding and acceptance of that experience. So I think that's interesting. I also think that specifically with gay men who, gay cisgender men who benefit from the most privilege within the broader community, I
Mm-hmm.
think that I think that it's very easy to sort of project your own self hate and I guess self esteem issues on a community that's going through more, and I guess a community where it's more accepted to not accept it, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of gay men find normalcy in being able to shame an
Mm-hmm.
experience that is less accepted. So I think that that contributes a lot to it too. I think that a lot of gay men are trying to find their power in oppressing others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like, black trans women just feel like they're at the bottom of the barrel. And it's due to a lot of what you guys are saying is that it's just ignorance, and also the idea of other, and that lack of understanding. So it's important that, the more people can get educated, the more that people can use their voices to um, share knowledge, I think the better off, the closer and closer we'll get to, a better place. But we're a long ways from that.
Yeah, and I think like in terms of education, I think that I'm really proud of us for taking the time to have that story be told on our platform, and I think that we learned a lot in the process. So I just wanted to know, like from that episode, what was your biggest takeaway from the episode?
Hmm. Um, One of the biggest takeaways for me was Lola's story about when she first came to New York and she was going down to like the village and the pier, and basically being taken in by gay elders, taken under their wing to show her the light, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And when she spoke about like her gay father, I think she said little Trey, but then also talking about Barbie Mizrahi and seeing her as an example and being told, Lola, that's you. And when she saw that example of Barbie, she was like, that is me. And she said from that point on, she wanted to be that. And she had an example. So I just thought that was so powerful to hear. And it just reaffirms the fact that whoever you are in this world, whatever you want to be, having some sort of an example is so important because it really shows you the possibilities.
Yeah. Well, what I thought was interesting too, so like with being a queer person, excuse me, and coming out, there's like you come out and then you're queer essentially. Like people know you can live almost immediately. In stark contrast, I think, to what can either be a longer physical or mental transition in a lot of ways that she was describing in her experience as a trans person. And just it again was for me highlighting how different the experiences are, how we don't necessarily even understand all the things about it, and how important it is, I think, for people of different experiences to be open to hear and receive stories that are different from their own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that for me, a big takeaway was certainly around the theme of forgiveness and grace. I think that what really resonated with me is her relationship with her mother, and
Mm-hmm.
how the relationship with her mother became sort of strained when she made the decision to move forward with her transition.
Mm-hmm.
And also another instance of like having like a really close friend who's a part of the queer community who started the relationship as transphobic, but is now an advocate and an ally. I think that that really resonated with me just because I'm dealing with, strained relationships with very close family members that I really love. And I think that it gave me a little bit more perspective around the idea of like giving people room to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I think that a lot of just things out there will tell you to just sort of like move past the people who aren't supporting you. But I think that her story sort of encouraged me to be a little bit more patient with people who are trying to like learn as they go. So that really resonated with me, and I'm hoping that what she was able to recover with her mother is something that I can recover with some of my close family members that aren't necessarily there yet. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that was the close of our Pride Week, or Pride Month rather. It
Ooh,
was.
child, pride.
Oh yeah.
I'm so tired, bitch. I
Right.
was just saying earlier, like we had our surface level picnic, then we had Juneteenth, then it was Pride, then 4th of July comes and it's like, oh my God, enough.
A,
Clothes
a
outside.
pillow. Right. Oh my goodness, it's so much. But we have a full summer ahead of us, and we actually have a couple of more. We actually have a couple of more episodes left. Literally a couple. So
Right.
thank you for tuning in to Surface Level Sound Off once again. As a reminder, new season 3 episodes are available, and they premiere each Wednesday. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
See ya.